Radio. We are The Rundown. John Sapochetti, Jet Striar, Christian Burgoyne, joined today in studio by Andrew Roberts, Flutie Fellow. His blog is Boston Sports Mania, but it's not like it is here.
If he pitched like crap, they're not going to kill him for it.
Right.
And same in Detroit.
Detroit's still a good market, but it's not quite as crazy as here. And now you're here, and it's the Yankees and Red Sox.
And you're getting paid that sort of money.
Well, that's the big thing.
He's getting hammered when he's not doing even like close to what he was. Like the pitcher, when he's below his expectations, Boston fans hammer him. And about the whole play incident, I met Heck. He's a great guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that incident could happen.
But don't you really look at August 2nd as like the next big test? Because between now and August 2nd, you talked about it, Andrew, that their schedule is very, very weak. They play Texas, Toronto, and then they got Minnesota and Detroit.
Well, Price could get it going, and then he could, like, when he gets a real test.
Maybe they have a 6-game lead when the Yankees come in on August 2nd, because they may need that if he's pitching one of those 4 games. Because that's the next test.
So in the coming weeks, the Red Sox have a much better schedule than the Yankees. That could be an advantage. Right. They could get ahead of the Yankees, and maybe the Red Sox-Yankees series aren't going to matter quite as much as they usually do.
Would you be shocked? Okay, say the Yankees get Machado and Cole Hamels. Are you beating?
No.
Are you winning the division at that point?
Not likely. No, because they've added that starter.
Is it very possible that that's exactly what happens?
Very possible, but it's at the trade deadline, so that's July 31st.
Here's the thing: the league, we're already talking about the Red Sox, like on pace to win 110 games after the trade deadline. It's really become a league of extremes. Like the Orioles, look at how bad they could. Like I don't know how many wins they're going to get without Machado.
Right, you're right. They'll get worse. The worst teams are going to get worse,
or something like that. They might not even get 50 wins this year, and then you have teams winning 110. Games.
There's 4 teams in the American League. Seattle, the Red Sox, Houston, and the Yankees are all on pace to win over 100 games. And there's 3 teams, the Kansas City Royals, the Orioles, and the White Sox that are on pace to lose over 100 games. That's half the American League. 7 out of 15 teams are going to be...
Right. And the bad teams are only going to get worse because they're going to trade away assets at the deadline. That's just how it goes.
It's a league. It's continuing to be... Especially the last few years, it's been a league of extremes.
It's kind of like the AFC in football, right? It's predictable. Whereas the National League, there's 10 teams within, I think, 8 games of each other. Best record in the National League is
AFC,
Milwaukee.
NFC, very comparable.
Yeah, the NFC is deeper in football. The National League is much deeper in baseball. There's 10 teams.
Yeah, the American League is top-heavy.
Yeah.
And in football, it is top-heavy, too, though I think that the National League, the NFC might even have the better teams, period.
Oh, yeah, without question. Yeah, there's no question.
Not just deeper, but the better teams.
Yeah. I mean, that's why...
you got the Eagles
versus
and the Vikings.
The American League has the better teams when you're comparing them to the National League.
Yeah, well...
I don't know
We'll see.
That.
We'll see when they get to the World Series. I mean, some of these teams in the National League are pretty good. They're just beating up on each other. That's the point. I mean, again... The Nationals are still somewhat in contention.
I just look at the depth of the lineup and potential for the rotation, especially in Houston. Like you can't tell me one of those National League teams is better than Houston.
No, because of Pitt's in the National League, of course. They're not going to be as deep as the American League teams.
But I'm saying the pitching's too. For Houston?
There's some good... No, Houston's very deep. The Red Sox actually are pretty deep, too.
Right, and the Yankees might get deep, too.
Yeah, Cleveland. I still think Cleveland's the best team in the American League.
Yeah.
And right now,
I don't know.
In middle of July, I think Cleveland's going to win the American League. That's my far-flung prediction.
I actually think that...
You shot that down, Andrew, but that's okay.
So the National League, I actually think their better record isn't everything. Again, if the National... look at who the American League teams are playing versus the National League. I actually think the National League has the better teams.
Oh, yeah, without question. I mean, because the worst teams in the National League, like Cincinnati has 3 All-Stars. Again, it shows the league's maybe not that deep, but Cincinnati's gone on a pretty good stretch. San Diego,
I mean, they're 39-51. Cincinnati, that's a stretch.
I'm saying the worst teams in the National League are better than the worst teams in the American League. It's a deeper league.
It doesn't make the top. We're talking about the top teams. No, I don't think they're better.
Well, if you listen to what I'm saying, is that if you are playing teams that are better, your record's not going to be like it is in the American League. The American League is made up of Baltimore, Kansas City, the Chicago White Sox. Texas is god-awful. Cincinnati's bad, but their bad teams in the National League are better than the bad teams in the American League.
Okay, but I think the best teams in the American League are better than the best teams in the National League. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we went 7 games last year, and the Dodgers were actually favorite in that series. I don't know. The National League, it's just there's a much wider middle ground, too. It's so unpredictable. I mean, pick who do you think is going to win the National League? And right now, there's a bunch of teams.
Christian thinks is going to win the National League.
The Braves, the Phillies are right there with the Braves record-wise.
They're tied now.
Milwaukee looks good. The Cubs, by most Experts have the best roster in the league.
Yeah.
And
only a year removed from a World Series. So
who knows? The Nats can make a run. The Washington Nationals.
Yeah, if they get healthy and Bryce Harper actually starts to hit the ball. And I'm a Giants, and if they ever sneak in, everybody's always frightened of the Giants.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a quick time out, come back, wrap things up here on the Rundown on Boston Herald Radio.
Because human genius has now destroyed the impediment of the terrestrial radio.
Boston Herald Radio.
Boston Herald Radio.
Boston Herald Radio, we are the Rundown. John Sapochetti, Jet Striar, Christian Burgoyne, joined in studio today by Andrew Roberts. But Marcus Smart, speaking of basketball, Marcus Smart is the one player that we're not sure what's going to happen this offseason. He's going to come back to the Celtics. Rumors are out there that the Sacramento Kings are ready to put together an offer for Marcus Smart. But Marcus Smart, if they offer him $4.48, do the Celtics match that? $12 million a year? You and Patrick Gilroy all excited to offer Marcus Smart $12 million a year for all the stuff he brings to the team?
Are you done? Do you want me to answer now? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
I can go?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I'd match that.
Okay.
He's important to this team.
He is.
We ran through this the other day, right? Yesterday. The record with and without Marcus Smart. They're a better team with Marcus Smart. We saw in the playoffs. No Marcus Smart. Okay, struggle against the Bucks.
Right.
Comes back. They play a lot better against the Bucks. He's very important to this team. So his monetary value to the Celtics should be worth more than he is to other teams. So that's why I would match that, because he's the type of player that puts you from over the top from championship contender to maybe realizing a title.
Marcus Smart. Okay.
On a really good team like this?
I think Philadelphia should be interested in him. I think he would help them. I certainly think he would help them here, obviously. But the case being, how high do you go with this if you're the Celtics? Do you go 4.56, which is $14 million a year?
No.
Okay, so 12 yes, 14 no.
Yeah.
What about 13? Let's go in the middle.
12 and a half.
12 and a half. So 4 at 50.
I think 14 is probably the most I'd do.
Go as high as $14 million a year for Marcus Smart, because now you're talking about him taking up essentially 1/8 of your salary cap, right? Although you can sign him, he's your own player, so you can still do that within the strengths of the salary cap. That's now, you also look down the road, you're 2 years away from Jason Tatum, 3 years away from Jason Tatum, 2 away from Jaylen Brown, and look, they're going to make more money. They're better players, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now at that point you get some relief from Al Horford.
Yep,
and maybe even Gordon Hayward with his 15th daughter by then. So
it might be gone too.
Yeah. So now you get that wiggle room. I'm not a big Marcus Smart fan. I like smooth players, but Jets turned me on Marcus Smart. I know his value to the team because he's that sandpaper guy that you need. He's going to irritate people. I am picking the Celtics to win the NBA championship over Golden State, and he'll be a big part of it because you get in the grill of Steph Curry, and I get all that. But in terms of that type of money, if they're going to go there, then so be it.
Celtics are honestly one of the only teams I could see being Golden State. I don't think the Lakers could even. LeBron James is not. I think it was more of a personal decision for him signing with the Lakers. If he was trying to win the championship, he would go to like Oklahoma City or Houston, one of those places.
Yeah, a place where he's got other superstars that he can step in and be ready to win a championship. No, it's
not going to get any more support than you did in Cleveland with the Lakers.
I think by the time the season starts, you'll have talked yourself into the Lakers winning the Western Conference.
Not at all. No, this is going to be like a relaxed season for LeBron and myself. We're just going to kind of go out there. He's going to lead the league in scoring, maybe win an MVP. This is going to be a personal season for him.
Very likely.
Yeah.
That he leads the league in scoring.
There's no title aspirations with who's the second best player on the Lakers? Brandon Ingram?
Kuzma?
Yeah.
Maybe.
There's no second best
Rondo?
player. Rondo, yeah. Second
to get
smartest
Kawhi,
player.
he'll definitely
be Kawhi.
Different.
They're not
that's a
gonna
different
get him.
A team without LeBron sucks. We know what they are.
Right.
They're terrible.
Yeah. But, they win 33 games last year.
35, I think.
So he should be worth 10 wins.
I'd say so.
So you get
at
him
least
up to
10
45.
to 15.
Yeah. So I think they'll be pack in the
a playoff team, but not.
Yeah.
I think they get knocked off in the first round.
They could,
in the Western Conference.
That's a crapshoot in the West, right?
Yeah, it depends where their seeding is. If they have a home court, they might be a 4 seed. Yeah. They're 4-5. Who knows? I think they'd struggle against a team like the Pelicans.
Oh God, yeah, because Anthony Davis would be a nightmare.
I think they'd struggle against teams like the Blazers. Even I think Blazers could even.
I've lost faith in the Blazers.
They need another forward there, just because I was thinking maybe even LeBron would consider going to Portland.
I threw that out there. I wanted him to go somewhere where there's a good backcourt.
Lillard and McCollum need someone up front a little bit.
Yeah, and you got Nocic, who's a decent big man.
Jusuf Nurkic.
But he's not
Jusuf
even,
Nocic? How do you say his
he's
name?
not
Nurkic.
locked in yet.
And
He's
neither
a
am I with
restricted
that
free
name.
agent.
It's a tough. That's a tough one.
He has
At one point,
resigned.
he was on the Nuggets. It was Nikola Jokic and Jusuf Nurkic on the same team. That was a tough.
See, Jet
tough
knows
day
his
for the
basketball.
announcer.
Jet,
And then
you're
you have-
the baseball guy. Jet's the basketball guys. He could probably recite all 15 guys on every roster in the NBA.
I could come close.
Where does Carmelo go? That's the other question.
Houston? It looks like Houston. I mean, they're putting like a full court press on him. They can't give him that much money, but he's also they're
I thought that he was going to stay at OKC with Paul George.
Yeah,
puts on
The
the.
Lakers
to the
could
Lakers.
happen. Then he would also be the second best player on the Lakers. We joined for sure.
That's a bad thought. I kind of would like to see him go to Washington. I want to see he, Dwight Howard, John Wall all on the same.
Yeah, I
team.
don't think he
That'd
has
be
any interest in
comical.
playing there. I think he wants. He'll go to Houston.
Houston, yeah.
I could see him going to Miami too,
Yeah. It's always
if they
good.
have any interest in him.
I think Miami's good as they are right now for the most part. They have a good. I mean, if they want to contend, they're going to add someone else, but
Yeah.
they have a nice young core.
That's always a free agent destination.
Yeah, and it always will be too, because it's just the location. It's hip. It's warm.
And yeah, they're a well-run organization. The interesting thing that
No
you
state income tax.
that you send, and same with Texas as well for the Rockets. So Houston will be a good fit for him. Houston lost Ariza, they lost Mbah Mute. They need somebody else to bring in if they're seriously going to try to compete with Golden State.
Maybe LeBron would have gone to Oklahoma City if he had known that Carmelo was going to be released, because then you could have put
They
Paul
just couldn't
George at
afford him,
power
though.
forward and then put
Yeah, it would have been.
It was always going to come down to L.A. and maybe Philly and maybe Cleveland. I guess was somehow in it.
Houston, possibly.
And LeBron.
He went to the team where he'll have the best chance to do whatever he wants on that
Right.
team. They can build that roster around him.
Yep.
And so it's his team by virtue of it's almost like a blank slate. LA, right? They have all these young guys they can trade if they want to. They're still developing. He can kind of mold their games around his game. So for him, I think Keith looked at it as this is the best circumstance for me to sort of build my own team.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the season because I have no title aspirations. I think he's going to go out there. I seriously think he's going to lead the league in scoring, add his 5th MVP, because I think at this point now to match Jordan with the 6 titles is going to be nearly impossible, right? So at that point you go, okay, I'm going to be 40,000 points, which no one's ever had in the NBA. I'll have well over 10,000 rebounds, 10,000 assists.
He'll put up numbers that nobody's ever had before.
And never touched. It's going to be interesting to see what the Celtics do this season. I have high hopes for them, and I'm not a green
Clearly, you
gamer.
think they're going to win the
I
title?
think they're going to win
Yeah.
the title. I do, because I think they get there. They're a tough matchup for Golden State.
I did start to get a little sick of the Cavs Warriors year after year after year. Now that LeBron's in the West, it's going to be a little different. Now the
Right.
Celtics have a chance. Raptors, all those teams in the East.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think they've.
Raptors are emerging as a surprise contender for Kawhi Leonard. It looks like right now. There's some scuttlebutt right now that they'll offer up one of those guys.
that.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan.
DeRozan, Lowry, one of those guys, both of those guys. I don't know. They can't come back to the season with the same roster. They just can't.
Which obviously DeRozan, another piece for Kawhi.
I would think DeRozan like Valanciunas.
I thought maybe this was a bold pick of mine that if Chris Paul didn't go back to Houston, he would consider Toronto maybe.
Yeah.
Because they need a guard there.
Yeah, if Kyle, their backcourt now, they're going to break it up. They have to do something in Toronto.
They changed their head coach, and by hiring their assistant coach, which didn't make any sense to me. I think that San Antonio would be probably interested in a Valanciunas and DeRozan, or Valanciunas and Lowry, maybe getting a young guy like OG Anunoby was a really good player for them last year too. So they have more win now options to trade to San Antonio if that's the route they want to go. I mean, San Antonio could stay competitive with those types of guys, but I still think that if you are trading your best player, you need to get picks and young developing players, not established guys like DeRozan. That's not the route I would go.
Yeah, DeRozan's actually older than Kawhi.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's an excellent player, but what's the point? Just kind of you'll stay in sort of middleman status in the end, which is the kiss of death.
Part of me feels like that Kawhi Leonard might just end up staying if San Antonio can't find a good partner. They'll keep him there and like you know what, I'm sorry if you don't like it here, but you're gonna have to play here, and he's gonna want to play it. As for Smart, bid for Sacramento to sign a guy like Smart, like I think it would be better for them to rebuild. They have a young core that could eventually break through. Who knows?
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I'm honored to be on the show.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, Andrew, thank you so much. Good luck over the summer, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right.